A few years ago, I attended a retreat directed by John Stowe, the Bishop of Lexington, Kentucky. At the beginning of his introduction, he said, "A bishop must first listen before he teaches." That got my attention. Isn't it the other way around? The bishop doesn't need to listen, the bishop teaches. But Bishop Stowe said, no, one must first listen and then teach. I sensed that he saw his role as bishop as one like a pastor, a humble servant. Pope Leo has spoken of the importance of listening. Last month, he spoke at the chapter of the Augustinians, the order he once led. And he spoke to his order about listening. He prayed that the members of the general chapter there would receive the gift to listen, and the gift to be humble, and the gift to promote unity. But it begins with listening. Pope Leo draws upon the wisdom of St. Augustine, placing listening at the heart of human contact and engagement, to listen in, quote, complete inner availability. And he goes on, when someone speaks to you, wait until they finish to understand them well. And then, if you feel led, say something. But the important thing is to listen, to have complete inner availability. As St. Augustine said about a listening heart, do not let your heart be in your ears, but your ears in your heart. We live in a time when people talk, they don't listen. Offering opinions, but not offering the space for listening. In Pope Leo and Bishop Stowe, we see two pastoral leaders who have the capacity for deep and patient listening, a capacity in short supply these days and in need of revival and to be something valued. Because when we listen, perhaps we begin a process of healing, of the end of division, of the promotion of unity. Our biblical texts begin with the image of a God who listens. From the book of Sirach, we read how God hears the cry of the oppressed, who is not deaf to the wails of the orphans or the widow when she pours out her complaint, their prayers piercing the clouds. And the psalm continues, this image of the listening God. The Lord hears the cry of the poor, the brokenhearted, the crushed in spirit. Though in his letter to Timothy, St. Paul wants to make it clear for the record that he has finished the race, kept the faith, and that a crown awaits him. He says this out of a place of hardship and suffering, but there he recognizes that the Lord stood by him and gave him strength, hearing his cries and his longing for God's mercy. Perhaps Paul acknowledges that he too knows what it is to pour out, to be poor and broken, yet knew that the Lord heard his cries, that the Lord had a listening heart. And we move on to Luke's text. In this text, we see two ways of praying and the efficacy of prayer, perhaps what God is listening for. In the first kind of prayer, the Pharisee seems to be praying to himself, not really to God. There's nothing God needs to do or learn that is new. The Pharisee is there only to boast and to feel superior to others. In the other prayer, the tax collector, acknowledging his sinfulness, opens his heart to the mercy of God. O God, be merciful to me, a sinner." Perhaps the lesson to be taken from the text, the prayer of a humble, contrite heart, is heard and answered by God. Yet in both cases, all are sinners, whether Pharisee or tax collector, and all are in need of God's redemptive grace. Today, perhaps as we ponder these texts, we are encouraged to consider, am I a good listener? Do I listen so that I may better understand? If I have better understanding, am I willing to act when needed? Do I hear the cry of the poor and offer them assistance? Do I hear with the ears of my heart? If God listens to my cries, am I willing to listen to the cries of others? Do I listen attentively to my spouse, children, roommates, friends, neighbors, colleagues, fellow citizens, and particularly in these times, to those who have different opinions than I do? The other day I was with a friend. His name's Joel, and he works for the county, and he provides services and counsel to those who are looking for housing, those looking for jobs, those who are seeking out programs for recovery. And 2 years ago, a man came to see him, and the man shared that he was looking for housing, that he realized he was at a point in life he needed to look at his addiction to drugs, and of course, he needed a job. That was 2 years ago. Joel shared that last week, this man, who he did not remember, because it was 2 years ago, came to him to thank him. It was this man who came to Joel 2 years ago looking for help. And I think as Joe reflected, he was there, present to this person, listening with his heart, and trying to assist and help this man in a time of need. And so the man comes back to say thank you. I imagine sometimes a lot of us are looking for that acknowledgement. Did we do enough? Did we really help someone? And sometimes these kinds of things happen, where someone comes to say, you were there for me, you listened, you understood, and you helped. And for that, they offer their gratitude. Perhaps the kind of heart that the tax collector had when he was praying. Listening can be hope for someone. A listening heart can possibly open a path for someone who feels heard and finds encouragement to overcome hardship and restoring hope.